Hi everyone, it's Melissa from Welcome to the Woods. Today I'm back for another This or That DIY as we talk about the differences between polyurethane and polycrylic. The major difference between these two products is that polyurethane is oil-based and polycrylic is water-based. Now, that has a lot of implications in and of itself, but that's the major difference you need to know. When I'm choosing between the two, the very first thing I decide is what is the product that I'm trying to cover over. So if I used a paint product that was oil-based, I'd be more likely to go with the oil-based polyurethane, and if I used a paint product that was water-based, I'd be more likely to go with polycrylic. Here are some of the reasons why. Polyurethane, oil-based, is best used over stains, and the reason is because when it dries, it has a slightly yellow color. Now, I would never put polyurethane over a white painted surface because it would create kind of an ivory yellowish tinge to the white after only probably a month of it being on there, and it would ruin the whole project. Polycrylic also has a slight tinge in color, but what it is kind of a white. It says it dries clear. It does to an extent, but when you first apply it, it has like a bluish tinged white, and then when it dries, it can kind of put a milky-ish finish over whatever you're covering. Now, it's important to know that if you are looking for a completely flat or matte protective finish on whatever you're doing, these products are not for you. Even the ones that say they are flat, even the ones that say that they finish in a clear satin, like this one here, it doesn't. It has a sheen to it, and you're not going to be able to achieve that matte finish with a poly product. They always dry pretty much at a semi-gloss, like a low luster semi-gloss or glossier. Now, the other major difference that comes between the oil-based polyurethane and the water-based polycrylic is cleanup. I often reach for polycrylic because you can clean it up with water and soap. You can just fill up a bucket of water, clean out your materials, and then you're done. And you can use it again later. Whereas polyurethane, if I'm applying polyurethane, a lot of times I'll apply it with a really old rag so that then I can just throw it in the trash. Just because I hate cleaning oil-based stuff out of my tools. I don't like using the mineral spirits, and kind of, or the paint thinner, and going like so slow, cleaning it out over and over until it's finally ready to use again. However, so far I've really been touting polycrylic, but I will say that polyurethane is a stronger, more durable finish. So say you were going to refinish your cabinets, right? And you were going to put on like a gel stain. Now, a lot of times stains nowadays come with the poly mixed in, and you can find this in both an oil-based, which means that they mixed in polyurethane, or you can find it with a water-based stain where they mixed in polycrylic. And I'll show a couple examples of these here. However, if your stain doesn't have a poly finish, I would definitely recommend putting a polyurethane on a stained finish because it is so durable, especially for something like cabinets that gets a lot of wear and tear. Anytime I'm refinishing something that gets heavy use, like tabletops or chairs, I try to go for a poly finish. And if I'm not going to use polyurethane, because say I painted it and I don't want the color to slightly turn yellow, then I'm going to reach for polycrylic, but I'm going to apply many more coats because in order to get the durability of 2 coats of polyurethane, you'll need 5 to 6 coats of polycrylic. I'm not joking, 5 to 6 coats. But here is the good thing, and another difference between these two products. Those two amounts will probably take you the same time to apply because you have to wait 12 to sometimes even 24 hours between coats of polyurethane for it to dry before you can apply your next coat. And with polycrylic, it only takes about an hour. It goes really, really fast. It dries and then you can apply another coat. And so within a day, you can have your poly layer finished on whatever project you've done, but you're just going to be applying more of one than the other. With both of these products, they have a level of toxicity. So you're probably going to want to wear a mask. However, when I apply polycrylic. I don't tend to wear a mask as long as I'm in a well-ventilated area, and that's because polycrylic is not nearly as toxic as polyurethane. You can tell the difference right when you open the can. Polyurethane has stronger vapors that can sometimes cause issues, especially if you're sensitive to these types of things or you suffer from respiratory issues. Now, I want to say at this point that there are similarities between polycrylic and polyurethane. The main similarity is how you apply them. You can apply both with a polyester bristle brush, or you can apply them with my favorite mechanism, which is a foam roller. Now, I don't typically use foam rollers for paint jobs. I like to use the fabric nap roller, and that's because it holds more paint. But these foam rollers, they tend to apply a very thin finish, which is perfect for a poly sealant because you want lots of thin finishes building on top of each other for a durable protective coat. One other thing I want to mention before we head off of this video, I don't always apply poly on my projects. I would always choose to poly a project that was either arduous and tedious or difficult to recreate. I don't want it marred at all. For instance, my stairway makeover I did recently, I did polycrylic layers over the white and black paints. Even though those paints were specially formulated for trim and supposed to be ultra durable, I did not want anything to happen to that paint job because it took me so long. Another instance in which I would use poly, and other times I technically wouldn't, is say I was going to use raw lumber or raw plywood for something and I didn't even want to change the color, I just want to keep it like it was. I would put a poly layer on it. For instance, my planked ceiling I did in our front porch, I covered the whole thing in poly because I didn't seal the plywood any other way, and putting the poly layer on prevented it from, moisture absorption or any issues that might come up in the future. Other projects I wouldn't put poly on. For instance, the mirror frame that I built is raw lumber, but I sealed it with a whitewash stain. So they're really not going to get a lot of use. I'm not worried about this frame being banged up or moved around a lot. It's going to just pretty much stay in my bedroom leaning against the wall. So I didn't put any poly on it. I just skipped that step, and a year and a half later, it still looks exactly the same and perfect. There you have it. I hope that you learned something in this video, and if you did, don't forget to share it. Let me know in the comments if there are other sealants and finishes that you'd like more information about. Waxes, varnishes, oils, etc. Do you have questions about how to finish a project? I typically reach for my poly products, but I have some experience with others, so if you have questions, let me know and I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time on This or That DIY with Welcome to the Woods.